Welcome back to Universe. I'm Andrew, and in this video I'm playing the second scenario of Sinister Motives, the latest campaign expansion for Marvel Champions. The first one was Sandman, and now we are coming up against Venom. So we did go through this comic last week. Basically, Venom wants to fight, and there's something going on with Osborn. We've got the text here. It says, "Phew, that was close. Blinded by rage, Venom charges at you, shouting something or other about how you won't capture him again. Every attempt you make to repel the onslaught is ultimately in vain, enraging him further with each hit, and the brutality of his blitz starts to overwhelm you. However, from high atop Oscorp, you see an old bell tower not too far away. If you can lure Venom in that direction, which shouldn't be hard given his frenzied fervor, you may be able to use the bell's sonic vibrations to your advantage." The rest of the setup I've already done. So let's just take a look at what is going on. So we've got Venom. He has toughness and he has vengeance, which means after we attack and damage him with any of our cards, we're going to get a face down boost card. Again, the boost cards are going to trigger normally whenever he attacks or schemes against us. But in this case specifically, this scheme here, Leave Us Alone, is going to make it so that those face down boost cards that we are dealt will also be added to his attacks or schemes. It's going to start with 2 per player, so 4 threat, and every turn it's going to get 1 per player, so 2 threat. And if it gets up to 10 per player, so 20 threat, we lose the game. We're also going to be playing with this Bell Tower environment card, which says if there are at least 3 per player or 6 chime counters on it, flip this card over, and when any amount of damage will be dealt to Venom by an attack, we may convert that into chime counters. Basically, we can attack the bell instead to make it ring, and Venom is known for his sonic weakness, so the chiming of the bell will bother him quite a bit. And then on the other side of the bell tower, we can see how it bothers him, which is that it will increase all damage dealt to him by 1, and all of his attacks against us will be reduced by the chime counters, removing the chime counter. So he's going to attack the bell to make it stop ringing until it does stop, and then this will switch back to the quiet side, which is where we're starting. And then as part of the campaign, we're also going to have the public outcry. The public does not like us, and we need to defeat minions and side schemes to get them back on our side. If you didn't watch the previous one, I am playing with the Wasp, Nadia Van Dyne, and Gamora. But thematically, I'm going to say that these are Spider-Verse characters in an alternate reality where instead of Peter Parker being bitten by a radioactive spider, Mary Jane Watson was stung by a radioactive wasp, gaining the powers to do everything a wasp can do. And Gamora is Gwen Stacy, who was affected by the Green Goblin serum and became the Gwen Goblin. So these 2 heroes are going to be battling it out against Venom. Went first with Wasp last time, so we're going to go first with Gamora this time. Also, we do have these shield tech also as part of the campaign. So as a reminder, Nadia or Wasp Gwen MJ has the compact darts, which means in here, alter ego form, she can spend a resource to give this 3 darts. And after she attacks, we can spend a dart to deal 1 extra damage. Interestingly, I think this will be good against Venom because that 1 damage is a separate damage source from the attack. So all damage increased by 1 by the bell would be buffed up as well. And then we have for Gamora or Gwen Goblin here, the Wrist Navigator. After a minion or side scheme enters play, attached Wrist Navigator to it, and when it's defeated, draw a card. So whatever comes out, she's going to want to deal with, but when she does, she'll be rewarded for it. So let's get the opening hands going. We've got 6 for Gamora. It's a pretty good hand. I think I'm going to mulligan this Fusillade and Hard Knocks and get 2 new cards. And then Wasp gets 6 as well. She'll also mulligan 2 cards. Some tough decisions on her turn. To start off, Venom is tough. He has the toughness ability. He's got 34 health, which is 17 per player. So we got to start by figuring out how we're going to get rid of tough. I guess the first thing is just to use Gamora's action ability on our alter ego to look at the top card of our deck, and if it is an attack or thwart, we get to keep it, and it is. So that's nice. Because I think we're just going to do a big setup turn. We're going to pay Genius and Relentless Assault for a total of 1, 2, 3 resources to pay for Helicarrier's 3 cost to put this into play. And as an action, we'll be able to exhaust that to make another card cost 1 less, which we will do to pay for Keen Instincts, which can be exhausted for a wild resource for an attack or thwart event. And then I think I'm just going to play Combat Training, which costs 2. So I'll pay these last 2 cards in hand to give Gamora +1 attack. And then once per turn, we can change form, and we will change to Hero Form Gamora. And maybe just start out by thwarting for 2, using the basic thwart action to remove 2 threat from the main scheme. And maybe let Wasp figure out how to deal with tough. I'm a little bummed because I don't think we're going to be able to fill up our compact darts. So I want to use all my cards for other stuff. I'm going to play Red Room Training, which is going to give us Retaliate while a giant form, or Piercing on our basic attacks while tiny. We'll pay with this energy, which generates 2 to pay for the 2 cost. Get that. We're going to change to Hero Form, where she does have, in tiny form, she has 1 thwart and 1 attack. If she defeats a minion or side scheme, deal 1 damage to the villain. We are going to use that basic attack, although basic attack of 1 being piercing isn't that exciting, but it will remove the tough and deal its damage, which is nice. Part about piercing, because normally tough would prevent all the damage. The question is, do we want to instead add a counter to the bell tower? I guess we may as well. Let's try out the bell tower. So we'll add 1 there. And then we're going to play Miles Morales Spider-Man. So apparently we do have at least 1 Spider-Man in this universe. And he's going to get +2 thwart or attack until the end of the phase. We'll give him +2 attack and have him attack for 4, putting that bell tower up to 5. And that should set us up for a good turn next turn, probably, because we'll just be able to get that bell tower up to 6 or higher, and then everything else for the turn will deal extra damage. Miles Morales does take 1 consequential damage from his attack, and otherwise we're going to be done. We'll ready everything and draw new hands with our smaller hand size in hero form. Each of these characters has 5. Right now, Leave Us Alone is going to get 2 more threat, 1 per player. Venom will activate against Gamora. She's in hero form. She's going to be attacked for 2 plus a boost card. I guess we'll take it. So it's going to be 2 plus a boost of 2. So in the bottom right, we see 2 little triangle symbols. So it's going to be his basic attack of 2 plus 2 more for a total of 4 damage to Gamora, putting her down to 6. And then against Wasp, she's also being attacked. We could defend with Spider-Man, but I think we'll let him do something else next turn. So it's just going to be 2 plus a boost of 0 for 2 damage to Wasp. And then each hero will get an encounter card. So Gamora gets Now We're Angry, attached to Venom, use 2. Venom's attacks gain overkill and +1 damage. After Venom takes any amount of damage from an attack, remove a rage counter. Alright, so we can get rid of that pretty easily, I hope. And then against Wasp, we've got a smear campaign, part of the campaign mode. If public outcry is in play, place 2 notoriety counters on it, then remove this card from the game. It is, so we're going to get 2 more, bringing that up to 6 that we need to remove. It's going to be hard. If we're getting this instead of side schemes and minions, we're not going to have anything to defeat in order to clear our name from the public outcry. But that is it from the villain phase. Which means the first player passes over to Wasp, and we start with her turn. Well, one way to get side schemes out is to play one way or the other. So we're going to search the encounter deck for a side scheme, reveal it, and then we get to draw 3 cards. Maybe it's a bit of a gamble, but I guess this card always is. So we're going to bring out Tooth and Nail. Starts with 8 threat, but after Venom takes any amount of damage, this also loses that much threat. But if we do leave it out for the villain phase, we're going to get an extra encounter card. But hopefully we can just get rid of this just by doing what we already planned to do. And then we get to draw 3 cards. Also, the Risk Navigator from Gamora should have attached to that Tooth and Nail when it came out. And if we defeat it, she will get to draw a card. So trying to find a way to deal 1 damage, but I don't think I can do it. So instead I'm just going to deal 2 damage with Spider-Man. So he's going to take a consequential damage. We're going to have him attack the bell, meaning that's going to go up to 7. And switch to the ringing side. So all damage to Venom will be increased by 1, and damage to the heroes will be reduced by that amount as it consumes those ringing chime counters. Then I'm going to attack with Wasp, but as I do so, I'm going to play Rapid Growth, which is when you use one of your hero's basic powers, change to giant form and get +2 for this use. So go ahead and pay for that with a second copy of one way or another that I can't play. We're going to change into giant form, Wasp having that special 3rd side of the card as she opens up, and she's going to be attacking for 4. Because of the ringing bell, that will be 5 instead. So Venom will go down to 29, which removes 1 rage counter from Now We're Angry, and Tooth and Nail will lose 5 of its threat. And that was not my form change for the turn. You know what? I'm going to rewind that. I'm not going to pay with one way or the other. Instead, I'm going to pay with Determination, which is after you spend this card, remove a threat from the main scheme. So it's a little free threat reduction. Then I'm going to play Living Tribunal for 2. with a strength for 2 resources. So shuffle it into the counter deck, and when it's revealed, it will remove 2 threat from the main scheme and then be removed from the game. So I have to not look as I shuffle this blue backed card into the orange backed encounter deck. So I'll just look at myself in the camera and find out where that ended up later on. Then I'm going to play Skilled Investigator, which is played under any player's control, and after a side scheme is defeated, exhaust it, and draw a card. I'm actually going to give that to Gamora, because I think we're going to get rid of this side scheme, but Wasp won't really be able to use it probably. So we're going to give her that card this time, and for the future, potentially giving her a much better turn. Then I am going to change forms into Alter Ego form, and while in Alter Ego form, I'm going to pay a resource to use the compact darts and add 3 darts to it. So we'll be able to shoot those off later. And we are saving 1 card, which is going to be the other one way or the other. She's still exhausted. Now Gamora just needs to do damage 1 more time. At least 3 damage, get rid of Tooth and Nail, and draw 2 cards. I'm actually going to play Nebula, her signature ally. 2 thwart and 2 attack for the low cost of 2. And that is such a low cost because if her enemy encounter set ever comes out, her Shadows of the Past, that will remove this Nebula from play as she becomes a traitor and turns on her sister. But when she does enter play, we get to search for an attack or thwart event and add it to our hand. I think I do want a thwart event. I'm going to get Set the Pace. And then once Nebula comes out, we can have her attack for 2. That 2 is actually going to become 3 because of the ringing bell. So Venom will go down to 26, meaning his rage is gone and the Tooth and Nail is gone. And with that side scheme defeated, we get to draw a card from Risk Navigator and from Skilled Investigator. We'll draw 2 cards, give Nebula 1 consequential damage. However, I did skip Venom's Vengeance. So because Wasp damaged him, she is going to get a face down boost, and now Gamora will get 1 as well. I'm going to play Set the Pace, which is the one we searched up. It's a 0 cost event. Remove a threat from a scheme, so we'll bring this down to 2. Oh, we should have lost 1 from Public Outcry for getting rid of that scheme. And after Gamora plays a thwart event from her ability, she also gets to deal 1 damage, which because of the bell will become 2. And that was not an attack, so it doesn't trigger Vengeance. Then we're going to use Helicarrier to reduce the cost of the next card by 1. We'll also pay with Tigra in order to play Martial Prowess, which can be exhausted for a strength resource for an attack event every turn. So along with Keen Instincts, we'll be able to make a bunch of resources for attacks, which we will then use to play Decisive Blow, which deals 4 damage unless we have played a thwart event, in which case it deals 7 damage. Because of the Bell Tower, that's going to be 8, putting Venom down to 16. And earning us another bit of Vengeance. And because of Gamora's ability, we get to remove 1 threat. Then we will play her last card in hand, which is the Acrobatic Maneuver. Another attack event, deal 2 damage, increased up to 3, putting Venom down to 13, getting her another encounter card, or boost card rather. We don't get to trigger her remove a threat ability again. And Gamora can still use a basic hero action, which will be to attack for 2, plus 1 from combat training for 3, plus 1 from Bell Tower for 4, putting Venom down to 9. And grabbing another boost, which will end the hero phase so we can ready all of our cards, redraw our hands. MJ is going to have 6 because of her Alter Ego hand size, but she already had 1 left, and Nebula gets 5, but she's got a bunch of resource generation in play. You know what, and I forgot that Public Outcry has this extra threat effect, so we should have gotten 1 extra on the previous round, 1 extra now, so I'm just going to add 4, bringing it up to 5. Venom will act against MJ, so he gets his boost card, scheming for 1 plus 2 boosts. So 4 plus this one has an asterisk, which means it actually is going to come out. It removes 2 chime counters, but because it's on the ringing side, it also removes a threat from the main scheme. However, that still was a scheme for 4, so it's going to put it up to 8. And then against Gamora, he's going to get 4 boosts plus a normal boost, and he's attacking for 2 plus all of that. I think we will defend with Nebula. Just throw her under the bus. Hopefully there are not too many star effects. Oh, there's one right off the bat. It says, boost if you are stunned. If you're already stunned, take 2 damage. So Gamora's going to get stunned, unfortunately. Another star. If this activation is an attack, this card gets plus 2 boost and gains overkill. So that's what we didn't want to see. But still no bonus to damage. So 2, 3, 4. This just is a minion that comes directly into play, which means it's going to get the Risk Navigator. and nothing. So 4 damage with overkill, unfortunately. So it's 1 to Nebula and 3 to Gamora, putting her down to 3. And now this enraged symbiote is in front of Gamora as well. So its boost effects did have significant impact. And that was just the activation. So Nebula's gone and we still get encounter cards. So for Wasp, we get Threat or Menace. When revealed, you may change form. If you're in hero form, place 2 threat on the main scheme. If you're in alter ego form, you cannot change form during your next turn. So I think she will choose to change form. I think it'll just be tiny form. That doesn't mean we add 2 threats. We're gonna have to get rid of that. It's up to 10, which is halfway. And I also just realized that this damage to Gamora should have been prevented, so she's gonna be still back up at 6. Venom is instead damaging the bell to get it to quiet down. And then her encounter card is actually the Shadows of the Past. So it's a good thing that we got rid of Nebula, otherwise she would have just become a traitor. So Nebula comes out again, engaged with Gamora. We also get Sibling Rivalry, which we had the last game as well. Only Gamora can remove threat from this scheme, and if the villain phase begins, Gamora gets an extra encounter card. But it only has 4 threat. And then these 3 cards from Gamora's set are going to be shuffled in. We still do have a blue-backed card in there somewhere, so I don't want to look too carefully at it. And then I think that's it for the villain phase, if that wasn't enough. I'm actually not sure if this wrist navigator is supposed to be moving around to the newest thing every time, or if it stays on the first thing it attaches to. Seems like it would move with everything. It doesn't say not to. So I'm going to have it move to the latest thing, and then pass first player to Gamora. So I think the first thing Gamora will do is play Forward Momentum, a thwart event, paying with Keen Instincts and Helicarrier. That's going to remove 3 threat from Sibling Rivalry. And when she plays a thwart event, she can deal 1 damage. She'll deal it to Venom, which is increased by 1 by the bell tower, putting him down to 7. Again, not an attack, so we don't have to worry about Vengeance or Patrol. You just need 1 more off there, and she'll be able to draw 2 cards. So I'm going to play Spider-Girl. After you play Spider-Girl, stun and confuse a minion. We're going to do that on Nebula. And then Spider-Girl will thwart Sibling Rivalry. It says players other than Gamora. It doesn't say characters other than Gamora. So Spider-Girl will thwart for 1, taking a consequential damage and removing that last threat. Sibling Rivalry is out of the way for now, which means you get to draw from Wrist Navigator as well as Skilled Investigator to draw 2 cards. Also get to remove 1 from Public Outcry. So I don't know how cheesy this is. This might be like super cheesy, maybe against the rules. Not how it's supposed to work. I don't know. But I'm going to play Gamora's Sword, paying with these 3 cards. Put that into play. Whenever we play an attack, event, deal a damage to an enemy. So now she's got her sword under here somewhere in this mess of upgrades. And we're going to play Return the Favor, which is a 0-cost attack. So discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you reveal a Treachery. Reveal it and deal 5 damage. But because she's stunned, that attack is canceled. So we're just going to get rid of stunned there and not do any of that text. But we did still play an attack event, so the sword is going to deal 1 damage, and that's going to be buffed by 1 to bring Venom down to 5, which again was not an attack, so it's not affected by Patrol or Vengeance. Like I said, super cheesy. I don't know if that's supposed to be able to work that way, but just reading the cards, it seems right. And I think I'm actually going to have Gamora recover. So we're going to switch to Alter Ego. We may as well use this action, but I don't think it's going to matter. It's not an attack or thwart event. And we're going to recover for 3, bring her up to 9, and then go over to Wasp. And with Wasp, I'm going to start out with one way or the other. So we played this previous round. We can play it again because I saw another card that can just go away based on how much damage we deal. I do think we're going to be dealing some damage. Here we have Lashing Out. After Venom takes any amount of damage from an attack, remove an equal amount of threat from here. Otherwise, it's going to be adding 1 more threat during the villain phase. So we put that into play with one way or another and draw 3 cards, giving Wasp quite a big hand. We still have the bell tower going. I'm going to play Pinpoint Strike, paying with Genius and another card. To deal 7 to an enemy if we are tiny, which we are, deals an extra damage and has overkill. So we're going to do 8 to the symbiote, but because of overkill, we only do 2. The other 6 goes to Venom, which 6 then becomes 7, although he's only at 5. So we're just going to put him down to 0. And I would say he only actually took 5 of that damage. So I'm only going to remove 5 from Lashing Out. That will defeat the symbiote, which let us take 1 off Outcry, and that also defeats stage 1 Venom, so he's going to go to stage 2. It says toughness and steady. So steady means he doesn't count as stunned or confused unless he has 2 of those status counters. Normally, a character can only have 1, but steady character can have 2, and it doesn't kick in until they do have 2. And we also need to search for Tooth and Nail, and also it looks like he's going to have that same Vengeance ability. So Tooth and Nail is the one we already dealt with before, which has 8 threat and loses threat based on the damage. You get another opportunity to get rid of Public Outcry. He's also going to have 18 hit points per player, so 36. And if we defeat this stage 2, we will win the game. So just 36 hit points to go. Also, Wasp says after Wasp defeats a minion or side scheme to deal 1 to the villain. We did defeat the minion with that attack, so I think we get to deal 2 damage because of the bell tower. And after we attack, we can remove a dark counter to deal 1 damage, so we'll make that 2 more damage. Which actually means 4 more threat off of both of these, which defeats Lashing Out, which means Wasp defeated a side scheme and she gets to deal another damage, making that 2 more damage, meaning 2 more of this comes off, and this will go down to 2. Which I forgot about toughness, so I'm going to add 2 hit points back. And I would rewind the Lashing Out because I think that might supposed to be in play, but I'm about to do a bunch more damage anyway. Well, I guess not necessarily a bunch more damage, but a bit more damage. So I'm going to change to Giant Wasp form. And as a reaction to changing forms, I'm going to play Lay Down the Law. After you change forms, remove 3 threat from a scheme, or 4 if you paid with the intelligence resource, which I will do. So we're going to remove 4 from here, bringing it down to 6, a little bit safer. Also going to play Giant Help, which removes 3 threat from a scheme, unless we're giant, in which case we remove 4, so we'll pay for that. 4 more off. Then I'm going to go ahead and attack with Wasp for 2, make that 3, putting him down to 29, and that will remove the last of the threat, think. We'll also remove a counter, and we'll spend a dart to deal 2 more damage. I have a feeling that bell tower is about to quiet down. I think we'll leave Spider-Man, or do we want to just do damage while the damage getting is good? Should also have 2 Vengeance boosts from the basic attack and from the Pinpoint Strike. I think I am going to go ahead and attack with Spider-Man for 2, plus 1 is 3, putting Venom down to 24. 1 more consequential damage finishes off Miles, and we'll end the hero. Oh, we do get another boost for that. Hopefully that won't take out Wasp in 1 shot. We'll end the round, the hero phase at least. Gamora gets 6 for being an alter ego, and Wasp has 5. Leave Us Alone gets 3 threat, 1 per player plus Public Outcry, which is still out. He will scheme against Gamora for 2 now, plus a boost. We do have 1 potential reaction, but we'll see how this plays out. So 2 plus 1 is 3, so we'll make this go up to 8. And then an attack against Wasp is going to have 4 boosts. You can block with Spider-Girl, but if he gets the trample ability, it's just going to be a lost card. But he's going to have to finish off the bell tower, and we've got 9 hit points, so I'm going to let him hit Wasp directly for 2, 3, 4, 7. But I'm actually going to play Foiled when a boost icon card is turned up, but during a scheme activation only. So never mind, I guess we're taking 7, which puts Wasp down to 2. Actually puts her down to 4, because he's going to spend the last 2 counters from the bell, which switches back to the quiet side. So we don't get the damage bonus anymore. Also, Wasp does have Retaliate 1 in giant form, so we'll deal 1 damage back to Venom. Fortunately, it is only 1. Also, Nebula would activate her scheme, but she's confused. Gamora gets an activation, or rather an encounter card, so Unfulfilled Destiny is her obligation. She can flip to Alter Ego, but she's already there. Exhaust your Alter Ego to remove it from the game, or discard 2 events from your hand to discard it. Can't imagine. She could potentially attack for 3 with her basic attack with combat training, but I think her cards in hand are a lot more valuable, so we'll just exhaust Gamora. And then for Wasp, we get an arm cannon, which is the Goblin tech from the campaign mode. So Venom has been equipped by the Green Goblin. It has Surge, it's going to attack to the villain. Attached villain's attacks gain Overkill and Piercing, but as a hero action we can discard our highest cost upgrade to discard that. So that might be something Wasp can do because she has a 2 cost upgrade. So Gamora has her sword, probably more valuable. But it's just Overkill and Piercing. So the Piercing doesn't matter if we're not becoming tough. And the overkill doesn't matter if we're not defending with allies. It does have Surge, so we draw again. And this time we get Waylay, which is from Gamora's encounter set. Stun and confuse Gamora. If she's already stunned or confused, it has Surge. So stunned and confused, huh? That's going to affect her ability to play cards, especially because she's already been exhausted, so she won't be able to use her basic action to get rid of that status. Now we go back to the hero phase with Wasp, and the question is going to be, do we want to try to fill up this bell again with 6 damage? Those +1 damage bonuses are certainly nice, especially with the darts, with the sword, with Gamora's ability. All those little 1 damage pings becoming 2 is really nice. Or we can just do 23. If we want this last public outcry, we're going to have to do 5 to Nebula. So with Wasp, I'm just going to play Ant-Man. This is going to be our big play for the turn, cost 4, which is going to be our whole hand. We are paying with Pim Particles as one of the cards, and when we pay with Pim Particles while in giant form, we heal 2. So we're going to go up to 6 with Wasp, and then we're going to bring out Ant-Man. While we're in giant form, he has +1 attack. While we're tiny, he has +1 thwart. So we're going to attack for 3. And I think we will have that go to the bell tower. So Ant-Man's trying to ring the bell. Wasp is going to attack for 2, also to the bell tower. And when we do, we're going to spend our dart to deal 1 damage, also to the bell tower. You know what? That last 1 damage cannot go to the bell tower because it's only damage from an attack. I wonder if I played that correctly earlier. So I guess all 3 of that damage is actually just going to go straight to Venom. Although that does mean we earn a Vengeance card. And then I'm going to switch to Alter Ego. Not going to be able to do it this turn, but next round I intend to refill my contact darts. And hopefully with the bell tower going in noisy mode again, those darts will be a bunch of potential damage. Then for Gamora, first thing, we're going to use her ability on Alter Ego to check for an attack or thwart. It is not. So I will need to change Gamora to hero form to do anything. It's going to be hard to do anything with all this junk on top of her here, but I think the first thing we're going to do is play Decisive Blow. May as well pay with these cards. But all it's going to do is get rid of her stun status. So we just had to pay that expensive price just to drop stun. Although I do think it still counts as playing an attack event. So we're going to deal 1 damage to an enemy with the sword and remove 1 threat from the main scheme with her finesse ability. So 1 damage with the sword puts him down to 19. -1 threat puts it down to 7. Then I'm going to play Drop Kick, paying with strength for 2 strength resources and martial prowess for another strength resource to deal 4 damage. And if we paid using only strength, stun the enemy and draw a card. And we're going to put those 4 onto the bell tower. So that will go up to 7, meaning it flips to the ringing side. We also get to stun Venom and draw a card, although the stun won't do anything because he's steady, unless we can stun him again. Unfortunately, we drew a bunch more resources. I was hoping to be able to do more stuff, even through these stuns and exhaustions. But I will still play Fusillade, paying with the power of aggression, exhausting her sword to deal 5 damage. 5 becomes 6, putting him down to 13. Also 1 damage from the sword becomes 2, putting him down to 11. And I forgot to get the extra damage from the drop kick we just played from the sword, putting him down to 9 because it was after the drop kick. It says after you play an event. So after the drop kick, the bell would have been flipped already and we deal 1, increased to 2. However, that Fusillade will mean we get a Vengeance boost. Nebula is stunned, so she won't be attacking us. Although we might have to fight her just to get rid of public outcry if nothing else comes out. I've been avoiding it because she has Retaliate 2, so every time we attack her, we're going to take 2 damage back from whoever attacked. I could attack with Spider-Girl, but I think I'm actually going to save her to block. Even though he right now has Overkill, I'm actually going to use the hero action before Gamora ends the hero phase. We're going to call for a hero action from Wasp, and she's not a hero anymore, so she won't be able to do it. So I could have done it before. I was planning to kind of wait and see how Gamora's turn went. I thought about it. Switching down to Alter Ego, I now can't do the hero action to get rid of the Red Room training. I'm going to rewind that because I did mostly intend to do that. I just kind of wanted to wait till the last minute, thinking I would be able to do a hero action at the end of the hero phase, but not remembering that Nadia or MJ was going to be in Alter Ego. So that will get rid of the arm cannon. And as long as a boost doesn't give Venom Overkill, we won't have to worry about excess damage. So we'll see how that goes. we can ready to end the hero phase. Gamora still has these 2 resource cards in her hand, so I guess we save those. Bring her up to 5. The Wasp will go up to 6. Check for reaction events, but there are none to speak of. Leave Us Alone gets 3 more threat. Back to 10. Venom will scheme against MJ, so he's going to claim this boost plus another one. It's going to be 2. Plus he gets Now We're Angry. Now he's going to have Overkill, which is exactly what we didn't want to see. And also Enraged Symbiote entering play against Wasp, Guard, and Patrol. But that didn't actually boost, so it's just a 2 thwart up to 12. Attacking Gamora, I guess there's no point defending now because we already know he's got Overkill, so we will give him this boost. He gets another boost. Stunned, it doesn't do anything because he's steady. That's going to be 2, 3, 4, and remove 1 chime counter. And that's from the Biting Retort, has the a boost and a star, and the boost effect being remove a chime counter. So 4 damage to Gamora, puts her down to 5. Nebula is stunned no longer, so she won't attack this round. And counter card against Wasp is going to be a Common Criminal, which has Surge, and as an alter ego action, we can spend a Strength to deal 3 damage to it, and then either draw a card or remove 3 threat from the main scheme. So 2 minions now for Wasp. Oh, and I didn't notice the +1 damage on Now We're Angry, so that's 1 more to Gamora. And again, I forgot Venom's hatred for the bell, so it's actually no damage to Gamora. She's staying at 9, and the bell tower is dropping down from 6 to 1. But 1 encounter should have been dealt to her, and then the Surge from Common Criminal is Waylay. Again, stun and confuse Gamora. If she's already stunned or confused, it has Surge. She is confused, so she becomes stunned and has to draw again for Wasp. Got a Biting Retort. Venom activates against you. Each boost card turned face up during that activation gets +1. Wonder how that would happen because he would have already done his activations. But nonetheless, he's scheming again for 2 plus the boost of just an Enraged Symbiote. A lot of guarding. 2 more threat, which is up to 14. Finally, we can see Gamora's card. Violent tendencies attached to the villain. Force response after attached villain takes any amount of damage from an attack. Give the attached villain a face down boost card. If the attack dealt 3 or more damage, discard this card. So it's going to give him extra boosts. And the Wrist Navigator should have gone on to the latest Enraged Symbiote, which we can just say is that one. And then we proceed to the hero phase with Gamora, who's confused and stunned again, but at least she's not exhausted this time. With Venom only at 9, and we still have the bell tower ringing. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to finish out this round. We only need to kill 1 Enraged Symbiote to get rid of Public Outcry. I know if we get rid of all the minions, we get an extra campaign point. The only other thing we can work toward is if we get rid of all the threat from the main scheme. That's 14, which would be quite a bit. And both these symbiotes are patrolling. No minions would mean having to deal with Nebula's Retaliate 2. I think we want to start by just a simple attack from Spider-Girl for 2 against an Enraged Symbiote. Even though it's in front of Wasp, we can still attack it. We're not limited by the guard or patrol on it, but we can help out Wasp. So we'll get rid of that, and that's going to trigger the Investigator and the Navigator, so we get to draw 2 for Gamora. She should take consequential damage from that, though, so Spider-Girl is done. I'm going to play Set the Pace. It's a thwart event, remove a threat from a scheme, so I'll take 1 from here. That will trigger Gamora to deal 1 damage, and we'll put that on Nebula. Then, I think we just have to do the basic attack. Actually, that would cancel the Confuse, so I don't know if that's worth it, but let's just stick with it. Then we're going to do the basic attack to drop Stun. I'm going to play Drop Kick, paying with Keen Senses and Martial Prowess, as well as Audacity. And when you spend Audacity, deal 1 damage to the villain, so that 1 will be 2, putting him down to 7. Drop Kick is gonna, we paid with all Strength, because our Wilds count as Strength, so deal 4 damage to an enemy. We paid all Strength, so we're gonna stun and draw cards. We're gonna put that 4 on Nebula. I am going for the Defeat All Minions. So we get to draw a card. We're gonna ignore the stun because it's not gonna matter. Triggers Gamora to remove a threat with Finesse. Triggers the Sword to deal a damage to finish off Nebula. But we still do take that Retaliate 2 damage. And as a response, I'm going to play Cross Counter. This is when you take any amount of damage as a hero interrupt, prevent 3 of it, deal damage to an enemy, and remove a threat from a scheme. So I need to pay for that. I think we'll have the 1 go to the Enraged Symbiote and the 1 threat removed here. Also, the sword will deal a 2nd damage, so we get rid of the Symbiote. Also, that's 2 minions we defeat. So actually, we should have finished this Public Outcry, so that'll be a victory point. The minions are pretty much gone. I think I might have missed a damage from playing a thwart event. Precision lets us deal 1 damage. So for 1 damage off from winning, or even 2 because of the bell, we'll revisit that. But I'm going to play Clobber then, paying with the power of aggression. And it's going to deal 3 damage to Venom, increased by 1 to 4, bringing him down to 3. Also gets rid of Now We're Angry, Rage Counter. He gets a boost card from Violent Tendencies, which is then discarded because we dealt 3 or more damage. And Gamora gets a boost from Vengeance. I think that's going to be it for Gamora. She still has a Helicarrier to share with MJ. I don't think we can finish off the main scheme on top of everything else. But I'm going to use Girl Power to shuffle 2 cards with printed intellect resources from our discard pile into our deck. We get 2 more Lay Down the Law into our small deck here. And there's a chance we will draw 1. Unfortunately, in order to defeat the common criminal, I think the easiest way is going to be in Alter Ego with its Alter Ego action. So MJ is just going to, in her street clothes, take out the common criminal by paying 1 strength resource. But the only one we have is a Wild, which is Pim Particles, which triggers a bonus when we're giant or tiny. And right now we are neither. So that's a little bit of a sad thing, but we do get rid of the common criminal. It takes 3 damage, and then we can choose to draw a card or remove threat from a side scheme, which we don't have, so we'll just draw a card. Did draw Lay Down the Law. I still don't know if we can get to all 14, or 12 rather. I was planning to charge up our compact darts, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to change. We'll go ahead and play Heroic Intuition. Just do the best we can. I haven't done the math yet, but we're going to put this into play. We get +1 thwart now. It's kind of an expensive +1 thwart. That's the best we got. And we're going to change to Giant Wasp. And when we do, we will play the Lay Down the Law. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and call for an action from Gamora to use Helicarrier to reduce the cost of the next card played by 1. Then we'll change forms, play Lay Down the Law for free. Actually, you know what? Let's save that Helicarrier because we do want to pay with an intellect resource so that we can remove 4 threat, bringing this down to 8. Then we're going to do a basic thwart for 2. But after the Helicarrier gets activated, we'll play Rapid Growth in order to get +2 to that thwart for 2, 4, +1 from Heroic Intuition is 5. So we got it down to 3. We could have gone to tiny form in order to let Ant-Man thwart for 3 in order to bring it down to 0. And then when we did our thwart, play Rapid Growth to get a free extra change into giant form for the extra thwart printed on the card here. But we need Ant-Man's 3 attack to finish off Venom. So Ant-Man will attack, bring Venom down to 0, take a consequential damage, get rid of a rage counter, go ahead and take a boost from Vengeance. And unfortunately, we just had that 3 left over. With that, Venom is defeated. We didn't go through the encounter deck 1 time, which means no acceleration tokens. Take a look again at the campaign sheet conditions here. +X for victory points in the display. Again, that's going to be 1. No minions in play. That's going to be our 2nd point. No side schemes in play, so that's our 3rd point. No threat on the main scheme, we failed. Fewer than 1 acceleration token in play, that's our 4th one. And no defeated identities, 5. We actually did pretty well this time compared to Sandman, where we got 3 points. So I think that'll put us up to level 8. So let's check our end of scenario story here. What's your deal, Eddie? You with Osborn too? Osborn, no, we hate Osborn for what he did to us. We thought he sent you. You thought we were Osborn? You might be dumber than Sandman. Venom, what did Osborn do to you? He ambushed us, captured us. He used some device to turn pieces of us into his own symbiotic suit. Oh man, Osborn's already bad enough. He doesn't need symbiote crazy thrown in there too. No offense. Venom, help us find Osborn. As much as we don't like each other, I'm sure we can agree that Osborn is much worse. Fine. But we can't promise that we won't crush you as soon as we're finished with Osborn. Great. We can't promise the same. We enter a hall of mirrors, and Mysterio ominously appears. So I guess I should also check the victory conditions here. So using the condition section, calculate your group's total. If a community service side scheme is in the victory display, record it. If it's not. So that is pretty much it. I guess we could have been using our Wasp card to bring out side schemes. We could be bringing out these community service cards in order to get extra victory points. Should have considered that. But otherwise, we are all ready to face Mysterio. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.